Hi there, Natalie with you today with a new process video for the VICKI BOUTIN design team. And this time I'm going to create a very wintry layout using Vicky's Wildflower and Honey collection in one of her free cut files. And the cut file that I'm using is called, I believe it's called Let's Chill, and it's the one that has all the snowflakes. I'm actually going to link it in the blog and also in the comment section of this post so that you can get a copy of it. And I debated on which picture I was going to document, but I knew that I wanted to create a very subtle background for this layout. So what I'm going to start with is a foundation paper. This is just plain foundation paper. I'm not going to gesso, and all I'm doing right now is with my pencil I'm drawing a 1-inch frame around the entire page. And what I want to do that is because I want to create a very defined and crisp line, a frame inside of my layout. So you're gonna see that I'm drawing the pencil, like I said, I'm penciling the frame, and then I'm gonna bring painter's tape, and I'm actually gonna mask the entire outside of the frame with the painter's tape. You can use washi tape. If you choose to use washi tape, make sure that you use the whitest one that you have, especially because I'm gonna use splatters for this, and sometimes the splatters tend to go all over the place. So I wanted to make sure that I protect it. Again, I wanted to create, like I said before, a very crisp line between the frame and the mixed media. So once I have that in place, I know that regardless of the pictures that I have a few with snow. I actually have lots of pictures with snow, but I know that blue is gonna make the whiteness of the snow stand out. So I'm gonna start by adding a light coating of mixed media around the inside of the frame using splatters. And for this, I am mixing iridescent glaze, a tiny little bit of iridescent glaze, with one of the blue art crayons. And I'm gonna scribble the art crayon. I'm gonna add a little bit of the iridescent glaze there, mix it together, and then dilute it. And then all I'm gonna do is splatter the mixture onto the frame that I created, remember, and kind of move the splatters towards the center of the page. You can use the packaging technique if you want to. I chose to use splatters just because I like the look of it. It's a little bit messy, but I don't mind it. A lot of this, it's gonna be covered by snowflakes, and I'm gonna show you it, but still you're gonna see the difference in the colors. And I'm gonna speed it up. I actually cut a piece of it because a lot of my head was showing on the video, and I don't think you want to see my head. So again, very simple, very light application of the color. There's a little bit of shimmer that is actually gonna show nicely on the page, and I'm gonna make sure that I cover the entire edge, making sure the splatters go towards the center of the page. And I'm gonna set it aside to dry for a tiny little bit before I add my second layer of mixed media. And what I'm gonna do for my second layer of mixed media is actually create a darker shade of blue and follow the same look. And what I mean by that is, again, I'm gonna mix a little bit of iridescent glaze, but I'm gonna pick a darker shade of blue art crayon. Again, I'm gonna scribble the art crayon on my little plastic sheet, mix it with the iridescent glaze, dilute it, and I'm gonna start applying the mixture around the inside of the frame again. But this time I'm gonna go a little bit narrower on my application. What I mean by that is I want to make sure that the color is kind of darker at the edge of the washi tape, the masking tape in this case. I just want to deepen the color. I want to kind of create different colors of blue, but mostly I want to make sure that that crisp line that divides the frame from the background, in this case the foundation paper, is really crisp. And to obtain that, I have to deepen the edge of the frame. And you're gonna see that I'm not gonna do the entire frame. There's little parts where I'm actually gonna leave them blank, but I just also, this is gonna help just to bring different levels of blue. In this case, you want to call it different shades of blue, and it's just gonna accent, like it's gonna create that crisp line that I'm looking for. Now, because I'm applying liquid right onto the foundation paper, it is gonna warp a little bit. Remember, I'm applying water twice, so I am gonna put this time, even though I let it dry completely on its own, I had to put the paper through my Mink machine. You can put it through a laminator, and the way I set it up is, if you use a Mink machine, is setting 4, and I put it once going backwards and forward and backwards. Then I take my paper, I rotate it, I'm gonna say 90 degrees counterclockwise, and then I put it again backwards and forwards in my Mink machine, just to make sure that all the areas are straight. And I know I pull away from the content, but again, you're gonna see that once I finish applying my darker shade of art crayon, I'm gonna take it aside and I'm gonna make sure that it dries completely. Now what you don't see is that while I'm adding all this mixed media, I have my cameo, my silhouette cameo, cutting an entire sheet of snowflakes. It took almost 30 minutes to cut the snowflakes, and I'm cutting it just out of plain white cardstock. I am using smooth cardstock, and what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take a little bit of I'm actually gonna splatter a little bit of gold glaze and iridescent glaze all over the snowflakes, and I'm doing this just to make sure that they stand out in the white background. So all I'm doing is adding a little bit of the gold glaze, diluting it with water, and splattering it. And I'm gonna make sure that I splatter half of the sheet with gold glaze and the other half with iridescent glaze. Now you're gonna see that I did not pull my my snowflakes from the mat. I'm actually keeping the negative part also of the cut, and I'm doing this for two things. First of all, it's easier to splatter on a straight page than actually having a snowflakes on its own, number one. Second, by you doing that, it's gonna make the snowflakes flat and they're gonna dry straight. It's not gonna affect your mat as long as you don't pull none of the negative parts. Now the other thing, the key here is you cannot heat it with your heat gun, then you're gonna destroy your mat. You have to add the mixed media, not that much water, just a tiny little bit, and let it dry on its own. You have to make sure that it completely dries too before you start peeling out the snowflakes. So remember, leave it on your mat, leave all the negative pieces, don't add lots of water, do not heat it with your gun, and let it dry completely before you start peeling it out. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take it off camera, show you how the gold work, and I'm gonna take it off camera and work my iridescent glaze, and then I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna make sure that it dries completely before I can continue working. So while that is drying, I'm gonna start working on adding another layer onto my background, and I wanted to add a little bit of texture, but something very subtle texture to the background. And I went to the entire collection of Vicki's stencil, and I could not find anything that looked like a snowflake. So what I'm gonna do, and you're gonna see right now my snowflakes some of them are dry, so I'm gonna pull them out just to make sure that idea that I have in mind works. And I found this stencil. It does not look like snowflakes, but we're gonna do it looks close enough. It's the flower stencil from the latest release, and what I'm gonna do is mix a little bit of silver iridescent glaze with texture paste, and all it's gonna do is gonna create a very subtle very light gray shimmery paste, but it's a matte look. It's not a shiny, and I really like the way it turned out. And I'm gonna apply it through the stencil using my stencil brush. So what I did is I mixed a little bit of texture paste with a little bit of the silver glaze. I stretch it on my little mat, and then I'm using the stencil brush just to pick a little bit of the glaze, and I'm gonna go on a circular motion on top of the stencil, just in some parts of the background. Now what I'm gonna do, and you're gonna see that I've been doing lately, and I've done it for a while, is I'm gonna stipple the glaze onto the page through the stencil. And if you know about popcorn ceiling, and I think a lot of builders are getting rid of it, but it's the ceiling that looks like there's little droplets coming from the sky. That's the way I look at it. I really love the fact that it's a little bit of texture. It leaves a subtle texture. It creates different levels of texture too, but it's not a heavy application. So I'm gonna see that I apply my glaze in a circular motion, but I also add some stippling in the area, and that just helps to create a subtle look that I'm going for. And you're gonna see that I'm just adding a few. I'm not adding tons. I'm just adding a few of the little flowers around the frame, and some of them you're gonna see, some of them you're not gonna see. And I love the fact that it's very subtle. And then I'm gonna set it aside to dry. Once it's completely dry, then I'm gonna start taking out the washi tape and all that stuff, the masking tape, just to make sure that I have it all ready to go. You can see the really crisp line that the painter's tape created on the background. So now what I'm going to do is, you're going to see that I have all the snowflakes. I took some areas, it's going to be hard for you to pull them out just because the application of the iridescent glaze. And then once I did that, I actually put the pictures of my baby in the snow, and I'm actually gonna bring some of the papers from the Wildflower and Honey collection just to make the picture stand out. Even though my baby's wearing a red sweater, sorry, it's gonna stand out on the background. I'm just gonna make sure that, you know, like I make it like the focus point of this layer. And for that, I am using the B side of the chevron paper because it has that kind of fuchsia reddish tone. And then I'm gonna use the script paper and also the B side, I think it's called Bloom, I can remember, I was confused, but it's the black and white flower paper. The B side had that like really dark teal, and red and teal are colors that contrast and combine nicely, so it's gonna make everything stand out. Once I have that in place, I added a little bit of foam adhesive behind it just to make the picture stand out. Not a really thick foam adhesive, something really thin, just because I want to make sure that it stands out from the page. After that, you're gonna see that all I'm gonna do is bring all the snowflakes that I had and kind of create a frame around the frame. Sounds bad, but I'm gonna glue them all around the frame. Now here's what you're gonna see me do once. I'm gonna actually place them in area, and I'm gonna take it off camera and glue them in place. But here's what I realized that I made a mistake, and is that I want everything to stand out, so I'm gonna actually back the entire layout with the B side of the Queen's Bee paper, which is a really dark navy color that comes in the Wildflower and Honey collection. So I'm gonna cut, after I had glued all the snowflakes, I decided that I wanted to cut 1/2 inch of each side of my layout. I know, but the advantage is that when I glued my snowflakes, I only added a little dot of glue to the center of the snowflake, so I was able to kind of lift up the, I'm gonna say, the arms of the snowflake to be able to cut it. But if you're gonna replicate this, make sure that you cut the background before you add your snowflakes. It's just gonna save you the hassle of having to lift and kind of fold some of the embellishment. Once I have that in place, you're gonna see that I'm actually gonna glue it onto the paper that I'm talking about, which is the Queen's Bee paper, the B side, and it's gonna make everything stand out, and you're gonna be able to see the frame nicer. You're gonna see a little bit more of the details of the snowflakes too. Once I have that in place, I'm gonna start embellishing this layout, and it's gonna take very little just because the snowflakes are already doing a lot of the work. So first thing, to create my title, I used the word story from Vicky's puffy stickers, and I'm gonna put it right underneath. There's so much white space in the picture that I'm gonna put it right there, and I'm bringing the word snow by using these are from the pink paisley, one of the pink paisley collection, sorry. Then I'm adding a little bit stickers, so some stickers to the corners of the pictures, and I'm adding that little label is from the collection, and that's where my lines of journal is gonna go. And you're gonna see that I'm gonna bring a few accents of black embellishments, and they're just gonna, because my dog is black and I have the word story in black in the title, I just want to emphasize that. And after that's done, I'm just gonna add a few enamel dots. I'm gonna pick enamel dots that are in blue, in teal, and in red, because those are the colors in the papers. And I'm actually gonna cluster them around the picture and the title, and then I'm gonna add some of a very light teal around the entire surface, the entire frame of the layer, and that's about it. I actually really like how this turned out. It took some time to put together, just because I make sure that everything dried properly before I put it together. So that takes time. I like things, I don't hit it with my gun, I just let it dry completely, but I love how this turned out. If you have any questions, as always, do not hesitate to contact me. I am gonna link the cut file to the description here and also to the blog. If you have any questions, as always, don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to check out Vicky's stuff and subscribe to the channel here. Take care, guys. Bye bye.